What I have said that there seems to me that there are two, if you will, moral responsibilities here that have to be addressed in any solution. One is the responsibility indeed of the American people and the American government for having permitted this crisis to develop. That is, refusing to enforce border security, refusing to enforce immigration law. Therefore, we bear some considerable, it seems to me, responsibility for those who are in this country illegally. Secondly, those who have entered this country illegally bear great responsibility for having, as their first act, having violated U.S. law and having violated the system. That's my view. Do you disagree or agree with that?
No, and I think that one of the things we need to recognize is the great culprit here, at least in the American people's mind, is not the illegal immigrant. It's actually the federal government that has not only allowed but encouraged the illegal immigration and the violation, actually rewarded the employers who are the major draw here, actually rewarded the operations in the cities and the counties that have tried to block the enforcement of the law. A good example is the fact that you have billions of Homeland Security funds going to local governments that openly violate the separation powers and say that they are going to obstruct the enforcement of our immigration law.
Sanctuary cities.
Sanctuary cities. You've got a situation where the 9/11 Commission's one of their top recommendations is that we have secure identification in this country, so the next group of 9/11 terrorists can't get on an airplane with U.S. IDs.
Right.
You got states and people saying, well, we don't have enough money to do that, but then they take billions of dollars of Homeland Security funds and use it for other issues that are not at the top priority of the 9/11 Commission things, and that's kind of things that we need to focus on the federal government. We can do and address this issue, Lou. We can reinstall the confidence that the American people want to have in their federal government by doing the right things that we've been overlooking. I mean, why in the world is the federal government the only government in the United States that has not upgraded its identification card for employment since 1937? You try to explain that to the average citizen, and they come to one conclusion, that there are people who purposely do not want the immigration enforcement to work, and that these
their conclusion would be correct.
Oh, and so when you talk about if we had a tamper-resistant new Social Security card that we are required by law to show, but nobody does it because it's a joke. If it was as tamper-resistant as the new border crossing card that we're using in Canada and Mexico, you would see illegal employment dry up overnight. If we just make every employer in the United States use the E-Verify, something that not only the government but the Congress even uses, and now, believe me, I've worked in Congress long enough to tell you that if it works with a congressman and their offices, it can work with anybody.
Right. Well, you
do that, we can take care of this issue without having to be punitive about who comes and who doesn't come here, because people will not come here if they do not get the benefits of employment and public benefits.
I'm going to be in Washington meeting with a number of people involved as advocates and activists and some legislators. I'm hoping that if I call your office, you and I might be able to sit down for a little bit here in the next week and talk about these things.
Lou, I assure you that if I'm in town, I'll be there with you.
I'm truly hopeful, based on, and by the way, I'm bringing, as I said, I'm bringing restrictionists together. I'm bringing open borders, unconditional amnesty advocates together, and I've made only one, maybe two, little suggestions at the outset. One is nobody starts with their initial bargaining position. We've seen that for years. It's not working. And secondly, everybody understand nobody gets a full loaf. We're all going to have to compromise here. But we need, for the good of the country, to get this thing resolved. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think that we're much closer than we've ever been, contrary to people, because the screaming has stopped. Now we've got the time to be able to have that discussion. And we need to address these issues with proper terminology.
Honest language, first and foremost.
I mean, don't call an amnesty proposal of people illegal a guest worker program, because then now you try to talk a dialogue about having a system to where people can come here legally, work for 6 to 10 months, maintain their families back at home, and be able to rotate in and out and fill jobs that need to be filled and things like the ag business. those are things we can discuss in a cool, calm manner, except there are some of us that have heard one group use that as a catchword for rewarding illegal immigration, and will say no immediately, and we've got to change those terminologies.
And we've got to do one other thing too. We I talked to one a fellow I respect mightily, who is an advocate for Hispanic illegal immigrants, and he wanted not to sit down with certain people because he felt their motivation was racial. And I said to this fellow, if we sit there and we worry about one another's, motivation, and if we start ascribing the basest impulses to one another for the positions we've taken, we lose before we begin. I said every one of us is going to have to hold our nose, and move forward here. We can't be making those kinds of judgments as a way to exclude. That is precisely the same motivation as a racist would have. They're trying to exclude people rather than include, and we can't have it work inversely either. This has it has to be inclusive.
Absolutely. And Lou, just for the record, I'm one member of Congress who not only grew up on the border of San Diego and Tijuana, but I'm the only member that I know of, and I've even asked Congressman Reyes. I'm the only one that I know of that have rescued illegals when they were drowning at the border, recovered their bodies when they didn't make it, actually been out in the storm with helicopters saving them, and actually seen them slaughtered on the highways. And so if there was a reason for my very strong feelings about this, it's because I've seen the human cost of what we haven't been doing right, not just in the borders but in our neighborhoods. I've seen the price tag of lack of enforcement, and that more people have died every year trying to come into this country legally than were killed in the Oklahoma explosion every year since the last amnesty in '86.
And you know what?
I feel strongly about it.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I obviously I'm eager to have you to sit down and join us in that discussion. It's just a bunch of us citizens getting together. But you're a citizen too, even though you're a big shot citizen, a congressman.
I'm here to serve, as we all are supposed to be. You
got it, and you do a great job. Congressman, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you very much. I'm honored, Lou, and anytime I look forward for you coming over. Potomac's cold and frosty today, but we'll always give you a warm welcome.
You're great, and I appreciate it, and I will impose on you for that hospitality. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. My office will be waiting for your contact.
Thanks. Congressman Brian Bilbray.